To help explain this story to us, international affairs editor Philip Turl joins us in the studio. Hello, Philip. If the U.S. believes that MBS is directly responsible or ordered this killing, what explains this decision?
Well, if you go back just a few months, President Biden actually declassified an intelligence report which found that Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi crown prince, had approved the operation against Jamal Khashoggi. So I think there's no doubt in the minds of the United States that Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS as he's called, did play a pretty major role in that murder. The problem here is that the United States is caught with its hands tied behind its back because it's been investigating this situation for months. It has already asked for delays twice in issuing its statement. In between times, Mohammed bin Salman has been made prime minister of Saudi Arabia, and that means that he has the status of a world leader. Now, if you look at the sentences, or the sentences coming out, the statements coming out from both sides, the lawyers for Mohammed bin Salman say that as he sits at the apex of Saudi Arabia's government and qualifies for the head of immunity, the US courts must afford that because he is a head of state. If you look at the statement from the United States itself, it says Mohammed bin Salman is the sitting head of government and is therefore immune, but the Department of State takes no view on the merits of the present suit and continues to condemn the heinous murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So basically what it boils down to here is that while this discussion about his immunity was taking place, he has now been made Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia. If he was just the Crown Prince, then the United States may well have upheld the idea that, or the statement that he was not eligible for immunity. But because he's now Prime Minister, he is a head of state, therefore they sort of more or less say, well, we don't have a choice. We have to give him the immunity even if we don't agree with it.
So we still think he's guilty, but there's nothing we can do about it.
That's basically it. And of course, there's been a backlash right the way down the line from human rights groups. And as you were saying in your introduction, by Jamal Khashoggi's girlfriend or former girlfriend, who tweeted saying that he died again today. I think that the Democracy in the Arab World Now human rights group, which is called Dawn, has described it as shocking. They say that basically the Biden administration had a choice in this, and it could have remained silent, and therefore should have done so as a way of protesting, to actually come out and say, well, yes, OK, we agree that he should have this immunity, when it's pretty clear that the Biden administration doesn't think that's a good idea, but it's forced into doing so, is really an ideal opportunity for the Biden administration to have kept its mouth closed when it didn't. And all of this comes at the same time when relations between the United States and Saudi Arabia are pretty tense because of the decision by Saudi Arabia to reduce the output of oil, the OPEC group output of oil. This is seen by the Biden administration right in the middle of the Ukraine war and the rise in prices and the problems over heating and gas supplies over the winter as really two fingers being put up at the United States by the Saudis. So I think that this decision which the Biden administration has had to take to say, well, yes, we're going to accord him the immunity even if we don't agree with it, that's not going to do anything to improve that already rather tense relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States.
So Khashoggi's fiance also said on Twitter that this was choosing money over justice, that's what the U.S. did. What role does money play here? You touched on the oil, but quickly, is this directly tied to money?
Well, I don't think that, obviously money is an important factor, and Saudi Arabia is a very important player in the Middle East and an ally of the United States in many different conflicts around the world. But there is this jostling for position and power and this rivalry between the two sides. And oil is obviously a huge factor in the financial aspect of it. But I think there is a general feeling that this is the Saudis pulling the wool over the US's eyes. The Saudi king, who could have quite easily not appointed the Crown Prince Prime Minister. This was a stitch-up just to get him appointed Prime Minister so that he could not see his immunity done away with and he will be protected. But it's not going to do anything, as I was saying before, to improve the notion that human rights are being upheld here and that he is not in any way guilty of his involvement in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi.
International Affairs editor Philip Churl, thanks so much for helping us understand this story.